What is the weirdest thing you've done that you could only tell people about anonymously? These are Reddit's best answers to that crazy question. I downloaded Grindr because I thought maybe I was gay. But after a few dudes started messaging me, I was like, this is gay as frick, and deleted it. I thought this would be gay, but not that gay. One time I went outside at like 2 a.m. and put the garden hose nozzle into my behind and sprayed some water into it. Then I farted it out onto the lawn. I basically gave myself an enema with a garden hose. I did this because I was bored. My neighbor saw me and told my dad. I lived at home at the time. Oh my God, imagine your dad saying, "Oh, son, I heard about what you did with that garden hose. Could you buy us a new one, please? That's disgusting." Actually, someone's replied here that they think it's even weirder that your neighbor made the choice to tattle on you. I bet he was debating it all morning, the freaking weirdo. That's a good point. Surely if you see someone like that, you just say, okay, that's weird as frick, I'm gonna leave it. Once I got off the subway in New York City and I was super early for an appointment. So I picked a random guy and just followed him on foot for like 30 minutes, pretending I was a private detective or something. I always kept about a half block behind. He turned this way and that, and eventually went into a building that I'd lived in 9 years earlier. It was weird, and so was I. That is so strange. I jerked off to some sexy sounds, which I thought was my neighbor banging some hot chick, which he did a lot, but it was actually another neighbor's severely disabled adult daughter, very low functioning autistic I think, who was making the noises. She used to hang out in their backyard and would verbalize with grunts and moans that I misinterpreted as sexy moans. Oh God. All throughout middle school, there was someone who tucked unwrapped hostess devil dogs into the toilet paper dispensers in the bathrooms, so that when you pulled some toilet paper out, the devil dog would fall into your hand. We had to have an assembly about it. That person was me. I was extremely socially isolated as a child, and I tried to make friends with the coyotes who lived in the woods by our home. I caught one in a snare and fed and kept her. I wanted a friend. I mean, I don't know if that's really, really dangerous or actually just quite sad. Probably a little bit of both. I stole over a thousand wafers from church because I really liked the communion wafers and didn't know where else to get them. I felt really blessed and cursed for a long time. 1,000. I imagine that that's over, I don't know, a period of years probably of going to church. And you reckon it's somewhere in the 1,000 territory? That's insane. I hope you enjoyed them, is all I can say. My wife and her best friend picked me up from a frat party, blackout drunk. Then they helped me take a poop on the toilet, wiped my butt, and they gave me a shower and put me to bed naked. Don't remember any of it. Oh my gosh. Did your wife really have to get the best friend involved? I don't really know why that was necessary, especially for the butt wiping, but hey, maybe she enjoyed it. I found a dead rat in a field when I was younger and kissed it because I wanted to say goodbye. If that doesn't sum up the answers to this question so far, I don't know what does. My cat has trained me to give her rides around the house by jumping on my shoulder. Sorry, your cat has trained you. Yeah, very, very good. I walk her over to the peephole of the door. She looks at it really. There's a dangling elephant thing with a bell that my wife has a decoration of. She looks at it or sniffs it. I walk her to the back door to take a look for a minute. It's glass. Then I drop her off at her cat scratching post and she jumps off. She purrs like a freak the entire time. It's adorable. And we do this several times a day. That is not weird. That is majestic. A cat has trained you. You are now the cat's servant. You are, in effect, what we would call a horse. The cat is riding you into the distance, just completely dominating it, let's be completely honest. Phenomenal scenes. Not weird, phenomenal. Oh yeah, here we go. All this stuff about sex and poop and blood, and here's you, toting your little kitty around. I love this. Too cute. I agree with that comment. Gathered apple seeds because I heard they had cyanide in them back when I was trying to find ways to self-yeet. Okay, first of all, self-yeet is a crazy phrase. Secondly, cyanide, well, sorry, I'm a bit gobsmacked. Enough cyanide in apple seeds to kill somebody? It seems unlikely, but hey, I agree with OP. I'm happy that you're still here and it sounds like you weren't in a great place. Oh, here we go. Raw dogged in a church. We were volunteers for mass and locked eyes with the Jesus statue mid-nuts. I just want to put my head out of the screen right now. What the heck? Was this that second coming thing that I keep hearing about? Jesus freaking Christ. We got super drunk and ate a ton of spicy food in New Orleans. Back at the B&B, the food started to come out the backside. I was sitting on the toilet, pooping bricks of fire. At that moment, the booze decided to hang a U-turn. The trash can was out of reach and I couldn't risk standing up from the toilet for even 5 seconds. The closest receptacle was the bathtub. I managed to turn in such a way that I could keep pooping in the toilet while projectile vomiting into the tub. Both ended up clogged and there was no plunger. I had to call the owner to explain that I had destroyed both their toilet and their tub simultaneously. If you're going to do one, you might as well do both. I had sex with a potential girlfriend's mum while the prospect was passed out after a house party. Oh my goodness. I was drunk, she was drunk, the mum was drunk, her dad was not in the picture. Wow. Okay, to answer some questions, OP says, yes, we dated afterwards, even got engaged for a while. Now, who are you talking about here? The potential girlfriend or the potential girlfriend's mum? Until OP decided it was time to slow down the drinking and partying. Broke my heart to break it off with her, but I needed to grow up and get off the booze. She passed away maybe a year afterwards. Her and her new boyfriend died in a single car crash on a back road. Drinking was involved. I will never let out what happened between her mum and I that one night, out of respect to her memory. I still miss you, Val. Okay, wow, that story got super deep, super quick. Goodness me. I had a baby by C-section and didn't take the stool softeners. Found out the hard way that I should have. Now, I don't know what that means. I can kind of work it out. But hey, if you want to enlighten me more, guys, or girls, in fact, get in the comments down below. Oh, don't worry, we're back. I once had sex with a salad. Okay, what the, okay, this episode is getting a little bit stupid, isn't it? No, this is not a joke. I was a very horny and confused preteen. How? Why? Probably started tossing salad and things escalated. Tossed the salad, then tossed the salad. Fuck. Jesus Christ. I would do roleplay chats in these online browser games when I was like 9 to 14. Wow. Yes, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm going to relate to what's about to be said here. They'd always turn sexual, but because I was so innocent at the time, I just didn't know how to continue. So I would bite them, run away, and block them. Lol. Hey, if you don't remember inviting another penguin back to your igloo in Club Penguin, then did you have a real childhood, guys? Please, someone say you did that as well. I was drunk at an escape room with co-workers. It was an extreme one where you're handcuffed the entire time. I decided in my drunken state that it would be badass to dislocate my thumb and slip off the cuffs like the movies. It wasn't. We got kicked out, my co-workers were weirded out, and I had to go to the hospital. I quit a few weeks later. White collar wasn't for me. Yeah, it's one thing thinking of that sort of thing, another thing actually doing it and dislocating your odd. I had kidney stones a few years back and was in a lot of pain. I didn't know it was kidney stones at the time, and some of the pain felt like blue balls. I was at work and in a lot of pain down there. So I told my coworker, who was my good friend, and I had a thought that if I could just jerk off, it might help relieve the pain. So I went to the bathroom, rubbed one out, stopping when people came in to do their business. I finished up and then was still in a lot of pain. I remember going over to her and I said, it didn't work, with a pained look on my face. I went home early later on. I've never told anyone but her. You two must have been pretty close to have that sort of conversation is all I'll say. I drove my car into a tree, no seatbelt, trying to unalive myself. I failed and ended up with a badly broken right arm and left hip, like total hip replacement. Everybody in my family thinks it was some accident, and I've been too embarrassed to admit that it wasn't. Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I'm glad you failed. When I was younger, I joined an international dating site that I figured was a scam. I put a black square as my picture and gave myself a fake name, and then I looked through their users. And after about 10 minutes, I had like 100 messages. What? Most of them telling me how handsome I was or how these women fell in love with me at first sight. Now I knew it was a scam, but whenever I felt down or got rejected for a while, I'd pop back on the site and read a few messages. Yeah, it's kind of cringy and probably pathetic, but it made me feel better. I would just turn off that logical part of my brain that knew it was a scam for a while and just pretend that I was the popular and desirable guy. And it honestly got me through the days sometimes. I rate that extremely highly because ultimately, who cares if these people aren't real? If it's making you feel good and better about yourself, I'm all for it. Okay, now, I don't know if I can read this out. It's gonna be censored, but yeah, sucked my own, and there we go. And for some reason, somebody has commented below, he's speaking the language of gods. Can't say I necessarily agree with him, but also, can you teach me how to do that? This is not a joke. Just to confirm that was a joke. Let's carry on. I got my bottom 2 wisdom teeth removed and made the huge mistake of eating only yogurt and cheese for a few days. I didn't know the effect it would have on my fecal matter. I didn't have to poop for a few days, so I knew something was up. When it finally came time for the urge to come, I sat down and started pushing and instantly knew there was a big problem. I thought that since yogurt was soft that it would make soft poo, but no, it did not. I pushed really hard and it hadn't started to come out, but it wasn't going to get out. I didn't want to keep pushing really hard because that's how you get hemorrhoids, so I was stuck. I actually thought I would maybe have to go to the hospital because this giant thing was stuck in my colon and I really didn't want to do that. So panicking, I sat up and felt around and felt the tip of it starting to come out. I turned the faucet on with my clean hand and then I tried to start picking it out with my fingers. I really had no other choice. Are we going to continue reading this? I managed to pick some pieces off and the consistency was like dense clay. I'm not having fun here, but I'm making some progress. Oh my god. Eventually, after picking pieces off, I sat down and tried to push again, and it started to come out all on its own. What resulted was probably the closest thing to childbirth that a man could experience. There was a lot of relief getting it out, but now I had another problem. Does this really keep going? Oh my god. There's no way this giant thing could flush. It was about 3 times as large as a normally biggish poo. It was massive. I even took a picture and later deleted it. God. I was using the faucet to wash my fingers off, and now I had to actually use them to break up this thing. No, you didn't. You could have used something else. You could have used an appliance of some sort. But that is what OP did. It was a total mess. You know if you've ever woken up in the middle of the night with a nosebleed and you take care of it in the bathroom, the next day you go to the bathroom and there's blood everywhere? It was kind of like that, but with poo. It sucked. I eventually got all the pieces to flush and spent about 20 minutes cleaning up the bathroom of what was left behind. So, I learned a lesson about what lots of dairy can do to you and some other lessons I didn't know or want to learn. That was horrific to read. Yeah, I mean, these are the sort of ones where this is why it's anonymous. This is why it has to be anonymous. Please tell me this person didn't put a username. Pup-e-dog. Okay, thank God. I found some tablets in a hotel room. I decided to try one. I think it was acid. I started hallucinating crazy stuff. Why would you just try a random pill? That is so dumb. And to be honest, you're probably quite lucky that it was acid. It could have been anything. I put the handle of a 10-inch telescopic police baton up my butt and I haven't been the same since. Please nobody clip that. And second of all, what is this episode? Seriously, we need to have a conversation, me and you right now. What am I doing here? What are we doing here? Why are you still listening? Get off of this while you still can. Let's carry on. I've always been a slim guy. So a couple of years ago, once I started to gain a bit of weight, I looked in the mirror and saw that my butt looks pretty nice, like a girl's butt. I was so dang lonely that I bought myself some female underwear, tights to cover the hair, and a skirt, and did a photo shoot, then proceeded to you know what to them. The immense amount of shame I felt for enjoying it put me into a pit of despair. I have not done it since, yet sometimes I still miss it. Brother, you can't say that at the end. Surely you've learned. Oh my God, what the heck? Right, we're gonna have to end this very soon. Let's just find one that is at least a little bit normal. I mean, we did ask for some weird stuff that you could never tell anyone. We're definitely getting that. I almost became an accessory to murder because a waitress was about to sabotage my drug dealing operation. Wow, here we go. In my early 20s, through a random fluke, I became a drug dealer. Really? Through a random fluke? Okay. I was flat broke and one of my shady cousins offered to front me an ounce of some mids. Yeah, I'm when weed still had seeds and stems old, for $90. I flipped the ounce, made $50 in profit, then went back and asked for an ounce and a half. 6 months after flipping my first ounce, I was pushing 4 pounds of weed, a half ounce of coke, and a couple of hundred Xanax bars per week, raking in about $2.5K a week in profit after re-ups, transportation, and distribution expenses. The thing about becoming a drug dealer is that when people figure out you're good at it, you don't have to go looking for drugs anymore. They bring them to you. If you don't get high on your own supply, always pay cash up front, and mainly deal in bulk, then they bring a lot of them to you whenever the frick you want. It's not like in the movies where drug dealers get robbed all the time and stuff. If somebody had robbed me, 4 other dealers would have stepped in and handled it because getting robbed would have screwed with their weekly income. My shady cousin started seeing one of my sack chasers. When I say he's shady, I mean he's been to prison for attempted murder and auto theft more than once. For the duration of this story, we'll refer to the sack chaser as Kimberly. Now, Kimberly was a punk rock / goth chick that pretty much looked like every keyboard player in an 80s hair band. One night, Kimberly came to me and said she was being stalked by some guys from her hometown in New York because she owed them a large sum of money. She claimed they had old world mafia ties and that they'd spotted her leaving my house on more than one occasion. She said she was in fear for her life and contemplating going to the police. Kimberly worked as a waitress, went through an 8-ball every couple of days, and blazed blunts like it was her second job. After a brief conversation with my cousin, we decided that we needed to investigate and find out where exactly Kimberly was from, because her story lacked a lot of details, but also had just enough details to make it credible. We agreed that if her story checked out, then he would dispose of Kimberly. I knew what he meant when he said he'd dispose of her, and I dang sure didn't ask him to elaborate, but he did anyway. According to my cousin, the best places to bury a body are abandoned cemeteries without groundskeepers. More specifically, abandoned Civil War era cemeteries where you can just dig up a 100-year-old plot, toss someone else in, and re-sod the grass. On the night Kimberly could have met her end, my cousin invited her over to his place, poured her a few stiff drinks, rolled her a couple of blunts, and then waited for her to pass out. The minute she was asleep, he grabbed her keys, picked me up from my house, and then we hightailed it over to her apartment. We searched her place from top to bottom. I found an old high school yearbook under her bed. We flipped through it and quickly figured out that she wasn't from New York. She was actually from bumfrick Oklahoma. We rifled through her closets, cabinets, and anywhere else you could possibly think of, and even looked under her mattress and couch cushions. We finally figured out what was up when we opened her medicine cabinet. It was full of risperidone and Seroquel and the like. Near as we could tell, Kimberly wound up in my home state because she ran out of money on the road whilst attempting to be a groupie for some trashy rock bands. She also didn't have any freaking mob ties. She was just some hillbilly girl from Oklahoma with poorly treated schizophrenia, which her habitual cocaine use probably exacerbated. The story ends with us cleaning her apartment and wiping it down so as to not leave any fingerprints or trace evidence that we were there. We figured it was only a matter of time before Kimberly's apartment was a legit crime scene, and we thought to err on the side of caution because this woman was seriously crazy. My cousin took me home and then went back to his place and went to bed. Kimberly woke up on his couch the next day, unaware of how she almost shared a cemetery plot with a son of the Confederacy. And I think that is as good a place as any to end this episode. What can I say after that? One of the craziest AskReddit posts that I've ever read. Definitely some of the craziest and wackiest answers. As always, as I always say to you guys, comment down below your responses to this question. If you have an anonymous account, all the better. But But I mean, maybe don't. I don't know. It's up to you. I don't know if you guys wanna or can compete with the level of some of these answers. I kind of hope that you can't. But yeah, if they're maybe a little bit more chilled and not like super illegal and stuff, get them in. But also if they are, get them in as well. I want to read them.